to be full and human. I say that. Thank you.
My Lords, it is a privilege to follow the noble Lord Bird and his powerful speech, and it is with a strong sense of responsibility that I rise to speak for the first time in this chamber. Excellence in debate characterises your Lordship's House, and we have already heard many outstanding speeches in the course of this debate. For my part, I carefully observed the work of the House before venturing to engage in its deliberations, and in that process I certainly benefited from the advice of noble lords from all parties and none. So may I thank all of those who have been so generous in welcoming me and granting me the benefit of their wise experience. And in particular can I thank my introducers, the noble Lord Mott and the noble Lord Lancaster of Kimbolton. I would also like to extend my thanks to Blackrod, the doorkeepers and all the staff of this House. As we all know, their guidance and support is invaluable. Turning to the important matter before us today, perhaps the House will allow me to focus on an aspect of this budget for which I have a personal passion. It is an area in which I have direct experience as an advisor to ministers, and it is an area that noble lords across the House have already touched on this afternoon. That is the question of the proper evaluation of government spending. During my time working in the Downing Street Policy Unit, I led efforts to establish the Evaluation Task Force, a Treasury and Cabinet Office team working to better understand and embed evidence in government spending decisions. My Lords, it is right that we devote significant time and effort to debating levels of public spending, but seldom do we discuss the lacuna that lies at the heart of government intervention itself. We simply do not understand whether many, often very expensive government interventions actually succeed in bringing about the outcomes they are intended to achieve. So I am glad that the Evaluation Task Force is now working on this, ensuring that evidence is more available and better understood across government. I therefore welcome the Treasury document published alongside this budget called Seizing the Opportunity, Delivering Efficiency for the Public, which was released along with the Public Sector Productivity Plan. It notes that, since the foundation of the task force, it has now worked with more than 300 government programmes, with a total value of around £140 billion to ensure that they have robust evaluation in place. I would also like to highlight the Evaluation Registry, which will become a publicly available online database of policy evidence, and the £15 million Evaluation Accelerator Fund, which will tackle the most pressing evidence gaps ahead of the next spending review. My Lords, I hope these reflections illuminate some of my policy interests, which are the process of government policy making itself and, connectedly, the reform of government. And in concluding, I will briefly touch on my own background, which perhaps is a small example of the good that a reforming government and landmark budgets can do. It was a Conservative government instituting careful tax cuts and sensible deregulation that ultimately enabled my parents to become small business owners in Hertfordshire. So aspirational was my grandfather that he would hold up a copy of the newspaper in front of him at the breakfast table, even though he could not properly read. In just 2 generations, his grandson would go on to graduate from the University of Cambridge and would be published in many such newspapers as a journalist. And I say, with apologies to the noble Lord Young of Cookham, also sometimes as a source briefing government policy. Either way, it was a trajectory that was surely unimaginable to my forebears. So when I stood up a few moments ago to speak for the first time in your Lordship's House, I felt propelled by decades of their hard work and aspiration. And that is why I believe the crucial formula that should be at the heart of every budget is natural human ambition coupled with the innovation of private enterprise, matched by the springboard and safety net of the public sector, strengthened with the solidarity of family and community in a free society. That is the formula that will transform opportunity into success. My Lords, I therefore welcome the bill before us today, in which the government brings forward measures to allow people to keep more of what they earn by their own efforts. It is only by widening economic opportunity that we can defeat a pernicious myth, and one I'm afraid that is being increasingly told to my generation. The false narrative that somehow the road to success is no longer open in this country to those who aspire to it. And I know that that was also the vision of the former Prime Minister, who put me forward to serve in this place, and I pay tribute to him today, just as I pay tribute to my former team in the Conservative Research Department, which I had the privilege to lead. My Lord, since we are in election year, I will close by recalling a poster which sums up something of this spirit. It said something like, "What did the Conservative Party do for a boy from Brixton? It made him Prime Minister." So I say today, what did a passion for policy and debate do for a boy from Stevenage? It would lead him to serve in your Lordship's house, and that is where I intend to contribute diligently with the benefit of the guidance of noble lords on the questions before us today, and I hope many more to come.
My lords, I'm delighted